Welcome to another episode of Viall Files. I'm your host, Nick. Thanks for tuning in. It's just me today. Rochelle is babysitting or on vacation. I'm not sure. Sugar as well. So it's just going to be me. It's going to be fine. It's going to be great. We have my good friend Tanner in studio. It's a great episode. We obviously get into and talk about our difference of opinion with Paradise and the structure and all the Demi stuff, but I think it's a good, rich dialogue. We'll probably stop talking about it after this, but we get into just the structure of the show and then in our opinions, and then a really interesting conversation with Tanner about fatherhood, what it's been like for him and Jade and their relationship and their sex life. It's been really fascinating, so I think you're going to really enjoy it. I know I did. But before we do, just a friendly reminder that we are raising money for cystic fibrosis with a foundation that Rochelle and I are part of. Well, Rochelle got me into it. Rochelle's sister is suffering with the ailment of cystic fibrosis. And it's a fascinating story, a great story in the sense that her prognosis was fairly bleak in terms of how long she would be with us. But she still is, and she's a doctor, and it's not possible without the funding and research that goes into this terrible disease. So as always, feel free to donate what you can. We'll put a link to the foundation in the bio of the podcast. As always, every little bit helps. We always appreciate your donations and thoughts and curing this terrible disease. With that being said, Tanner, my good friend, coming up next.
Time for Nick to sell you things you really need, but you don't own yet.
Manscaping, Rochelle, do you know? Listen, here's the thing.
I'm not too familiar.
I'm aware that I feel like in the grooming department, it's more challenging for women. I think you have more shit you have to deal with on a daily basis, right? Is that safe to say? I think men have it pretty easy.
Yeah.
But sometimes in the one area where it can get difficult is when we try to trim down there.
Oh, yeah. Your balls are so sensitive.
It's not only that, they're just like, they're oddly shaped.
Yeah.
Right?
And squishy.
It's just a lot to do. Yeah. And when men try to trim the balls area, whether it's with like certainly a razor is challenging, an electric shaver or scissors, you almost always nick it up. And when you do, it's really weird. When
nick it up?
I shouldn't use that. Well,
that's your name, but that's funny.
And then there's blood sometimes.
You've done that?
Yeah. Every guy has. There's not a guy who's tried to groom down there and not cut themselves.
So what's the solution?
It's Manscaped. They have it's really great. It's actually surprising how like perfect it is.
Really?
On how it works.
I heard they have a new lawnmower 2.0.
They call it the lawnmower, which I think is clever marketing on their part. The important part is that if you're a guy and you are trimming your balls or just the general area down there, you can do it very efficiently and not cut yourself.
It says it has skin safe technology. Women, we got to buy our men these. Manscaped.
It really, I can't tell you enough just how much of a better option it is.
Yeah. Ugh. Oof.
It's brutal down there.
Yeah.
You know?
And what a great way to send the message that your man needs to step it up a little bit.
It's like a weird grooming department. It's like a weird thing when a guy does that and he like will cut himself and they're like, and then you don't like, even if you don't notice the bleeding, and then like a couple days later you'll be like down there and like, why do I have this like scratched on there? And you'll be like, I cut myself. It's not anything else. But anyways, you just don't, as a guy, you don't want that shit going on. You don't. You just groom and like save yourself the headache and the pain and the, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. Anyways, Manscaped, get 20% off your free shipping with code Viall at manscaped.com. That's 20% off your free shipping at manscaped.com and use promo code VIALL. Frank and Oak, I got my Frank and Oak shirt right here. You have your Frank and Oak shirt right there.
I quite
like this purple.
What is that, an eggplant?
Is it an eggplant?
I don't know.
Anyways, it's super easy to get because I went on their website. I selected the styles I usually wear, and then they curate these boxes for me. They ship it right to my door.
Easy.
Very easy. Fashionable clothes. Yeah. Affordable clothes.
So every month we're getting new clothes picked out just for us. New
clothes picked up that are aligned to my taste and preferences. It's pretty great.
The best thing about these clothes is that they are made ethically. So you can buy them guilt-free knowing that it's not harming the environment.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Frank and Oak. You can get it and discover what your wardrobe has been missing. Go to frankanoak.com/Viall and get $25 off your first subscription box and try Style Plan by Frank and Oak. Completely risk-free. That's frankanoak.com/Viall for $25 off your first subscription box. frankanoak.com/VIALL.
Now go buy the stuff.
Tanner,
Nick,
how are you?
I'm well. How are you, buddy?
Thanks for coming, buddy.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we kick things off, I want to slow roll our listeners in here. I feel like they're starting their morning with us. Let's not get into us fighting right away.
Yeah, we'll give it time.
Give it a moment. Have you ever done a podcast without Jade?
No. Well, not without Jade. No, Jade has always been a part of it. Let's be real. She's the star of the show.
I get it.
I'm like her sidekick. She's Batman.
100%.
I'm like Robin's little brother. So.
And when I first thought to have you guys on, I thought of having the two of you.
Sure.
Right? Let's talk about the happy couple, marriage and relationships. I predominantly have had only women as guests on my show. You are the third straight male guest on my show.
I feel very honored.
I don't know if I feel honored, but it's pretty
something.
good. And then you had to go pick a fight with my friend Demi.
I know.
And then I thought to myself, you know what? I think I'm just going to have Tanner on without Jade. And maybe we'll totally have Jade on.
Yeah, we'll do that another
if she's
time.
willing. I think I'm going to have Jade without you if that's okay with you.
Honestly, it's probably better when we're together. We just we say the
I
same
think I'm
thing.
getting more honest responses.
100%, because we've done the whole hey, how is married life?
Yeah.
How is the kids thing together? Talk a zillion times.
So it kind of worked out. But I've talked a lot about my desire to be a dad. I've half given up on marriage, but still want to have a kids.
How would you go about that then? Just
What do you mean?
with no marriage, have kids? Would you just like adopt?
Likewise. I mean, that's an option. I would like, ideally, if I'm able to have kids the old-fashioned way, in the sense of,
And then just like have co-parenting, or would you try to like set something up like a surrogate where you just keep a kid yourself?
I mean, I'm joking. I would like to raise a child with someone.
Oh, okay.
But there's all sorts of, maybe there is a co-parenting situation, I don't know.
How many kids would you want? Because you're one of like how many? Like 10?
One of 11.
Oh my!
Let's start with one and go from there. I mean, ideally,
God bless your mom. I'm just getting settled in with 2, and whew.
And you're still technically be able to play a man-to-man defense.
Yeah.
You don't have to play a zone.
No, not yet.
But yeah, we'll get into that because we do get a lot of questions from our callers about how the relationship changes with kids, how to keep the spark going, so to speak. So I'd love your take on that. But before we do,
Okay.
honestly, what the fuck? The Demi thing.
So here's how the Demi thing started on my end. I love Demi on Colton season. I was vocal about that. I think she's amazing TV,
she's
and I'm
part
sure
of your brand
Yeah.
in terms of like just kind of say what you feel.
I love her.
Yeah.
And then I made a tweet because the whole girlfriend back home thing, there's a few layers to it. We can do the whole he said, she said for as long as we want, but I know for a fact that it was planned before the show.
There definitely was conversations about the possibility of bringing Kristian on.
Mm-hmm.
That much we know.
Sure.
And so I'm kind of operating under that truth. In terms of what happened, I mean, that the show, I mean, you were on it.
Right.
Like, what we talked about on the show is the producers definitely are very good at staging situations and then letting it play out.
Sure.
Right? I mean, they certainly tried to lead us down paths at times, but there's no guarantee. There's no plan. They don't know that it's never happened where you're going to do this, you're going to date them, and you're going to leave engaged.
100%. They try to set the table, but they always let you eat. Where
Okay.
I guess this time, I think it was as close to as them feeding you what you wanted.
See, that's where I disagree. I mean,
So I guess
what's so hard? And you're getting this information from, I'm assuming, other people in Bachelor Nation.
correct.
Yeah.
So-
and you think all those people are getting firsthand knowledge from producers and Demi, and there's no disconnect within the telephone game.
So I
And
guess
there's no jealousy in terms of the quality of airtime that she might be getting and the attention she's getting.
I guess it's how did I hear about it in May when I don't talk to Demi. I didn't know she had a girlfriend even. How am I hearing that Demi is going to go on Paradise, leave the show, engaged or not engaged, with this person at the end.
Again, even to leave the show, you don't think that might be misinformation or assumed on the part of the person you're hearing it from. I think it's safe to assume that it's not surprising that if there was going to be the first gay relationship, that's going to create a buzz, especially even within the family of all our alumni of chatting, and the fact that they might plan on bringing someone on. Is it that surprising that rumor would get spread pretty quickly?
No, it's not surprising at all. I guess we're just on the opposite side of the fence on what we believe. Because I heard from a very reliable source that Demi told directly that was the plan, and to be ready.
I mean,
for it afterwards.
I'm good friends. I've become good friends with Demi.
Mm-hmm.
She's pretty open with me about a lot of things. I was aware that she was dating someone. Sure. I was aware that there are discussions. She was pretty transparent with me. She never told me about some plan. She told me about I don't know. And Demi is really honest with me. So this is not like Demi was kind of telling me one thing to another. So unless you heard it from Demi or one of the showrunners, who I also had conversations with about I think it's easy. It's really easy for someone to hear oh yeah, they're going to come on, and then people to add a little bit of things they didn't actually hear, well, they're going to leave engaged. We know, first of all, we don't know how it's going to play out.
Right. I guess I wish I could just
also
I wish I could explain my reasoning and my source and how reliable it was. I don't want I don't want to drag them into this. But
okay, let's say for minus getting in the weeds of that, let's assume you're right.
Okay.
Who cares?
I do.
Why?
Because I was a big fan of the show even before I went on. I think while it is great that the show is raising awareness, and I do applaud Demi for her bravery, I think the moment that you start toying with the whole scripted,
Well, I mean, again, keep scripted implies that there are words that we're being told to say. Staged implies that there's situations that are created for us to have authentic conversations in.
Okay, we'll say, we won't say scripted, we'll say very staged. I think the moment you bring in very, very staged situations, it takes away how genuine the show can be. And I think that's scary, whether it's on The Bachelor or I'm a big Survivor fan. If I found out that someone was telling, the producers were basically telling someone where the hidden immunity idols were, I would lose interest in the show completely. I don't think that's what the show was designed to do. And I always err on the side of honesty, and I don't feel like they were being honest. The show wasn't, or Demi.
I mean, again, I can confidently say, I just don't get this whole there's not much different than all the other, if you want to get on board with again, the Blake and Hannah and all that stuff, which is it's not the same show when you first went on. Social media is what it is. All these people are moving to LA. They're all meeting. They're going to Stagecoach. They're having sex. They all have these pre-existing relationships. Mm-hmm. The notion that everyone's going to go down and meet for the first time and we're going to see if there's chemistry between them is just not the reality anymore. And
why do you think that is, though? Because we had social media. I mean, I could have slid into Jade's DMs.
Sure, but it's not what it was. Also, Paradise was so new. It was the second season. I think everyone kind of lived under this operation of fear. We didn't want to get themselves in trouble. People weren't all moving out to LA. It's just a different network of people doing different things. Now there's this perceived playbook, and everyone's got these social media agents, and they're all trying to, and so I totally agree with you there. I guess what I'm saying, getting in the weeds of, again, all we know is that Demi was dating someone and not an exclusive relationship. And I'm totally can agree with you that there was discussions about possibly bringing her on. I think when you start saying we're going to definitely, we know for a fact that the producers are very good at audibling. They changed our season. They canceled hometowns.
Right.
They had me show up 4 weeks in when there was no plan for me to show up when the season started. All I'm saying is they can have a plan to maybe bring Kristian on. That doesn't mean that was going to happen. She could have fallen for Derek. That's not unlikely. And to say that the producers aren't prepared for anything is disingenuous, knowing what we know, because they truly are. they may think this is probably going to happen, but people do go rogue. And they will adapt to the most organic story that they have. And I just think in this situation, you can still say that happened, even if we're like, hey, listen, if she's dating someone and she wants to date her, we're going to try to have the first openly gay relationship. And then if she comes down here, would it be great if they work out? Would it be great if they leave together? Would we like that? Sure. But I mean, is it that hard to believe that Kristian could show up and it be an absolute clusterfuck with someone who's not familiar with the surrounding? And then Demi is just like, I don't know. I'm panicking. I don't know if I really... That's totally possible. And they would have played that. I'm allergic to aluminum, and therefore most deodorants I can't use.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if you knew that about me. A lot of people are. Myro, all natural deodorant.
Yeah. Solved your problem, huh?
Doesn't have aluminum in it, amongst other things. Tell us about it, Rochelle.
Well, the reason it's so awesome, you get 1 case and 1 pod in your starter kit, and then you get 3 pod refills sent straight to your door, so you don't have to buy a new case for your deodorant. You just keep refilling it. Saves the environment, and it's natural for you.
Saves the environment, and it's natural for us? Wow.
They have 5 great scents and 5 case colors you can choose from, and they're all unisex scents. They're not like powder fresh and whatnot.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, get Myro and get 50% off your first order and get started today for just $5. Visit mymyro.com/Viall and use promo code Viall. Again, that is mymyro.com/VIALL and get your Myro today. I'm at level 10 on Best Fiends.
That's weak, Nick.
Yeah. Well,
do you think it's fun?
I think it's great.
It's so... I can't stop playing it.
Well, you play apparently more than me because you're on level 1,000 or whatever, 250s.
I don't know. It just like makes me feel so good getting those diamonds.
I just like that exercises my brain. I think you like the really cute characters, which I think are fun. They're great. But it's also just really... I feel like I'm being productive while having fun at the same time.
Yeah, and I personally use it to relax because I can't read the news all the time.
Anyways, engage your brain with fun puzzles and collect tons of cute characters. It's a 5-star rated mobile game on the Apple App Store and Google Play. Download free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R. Best Fiends, Fiends.
Free download.
If they wanted to showcase the relationship, I wish they would have just cast Kristian from day one and just be more transparent.
Why?
Because it's as a viewer, it's felt very.
How would they have told that story? I mean, I'm saying they're storytellers. I just don't get. I mean, again, it is a TV show. I mean, I know you're a diehard Survivor fan, a diehard Bachelor fan, and you are. I feel like you are speaking from a fan point of view.
100%.
I totally get that, but. Can't we just like support there's no other way to probably do this within Bachelor Nation to have an openly gay relationship unless the producers completely luck out and accidentally cast 2 men or 2 women who are bisexual, and then those 2 people mutually are attracted to each other, because there's no guarantee that they would be attracted to each other if they were in fact bisexual. So like Lauren Iaconetti came on your season when you were in Jade and Tanner. Was that like the end of the day? They had that planned out,
right? But a relationship wasn't planned from it, I guess. And
I mean, again, producers have ideas of who's liking who. We all original cast, even we all get asked questions at the beginning of the season. Who do you like? Who you're going for? Some people have talked, some people haven't. What is really the difference when people are like? Again, people have plans and they didn't have plans. Hannah thought she's going to get engaged to Blake when she walked into the season, right?
She probably wanted to and thought it was going to happen.
That was her plan.
That's why they hung up before.
And it didn't work out. And how many times the producers hear plans and fuck with that plan for the sake of good TV?
I guess I just wish there weren't plans. Maybe I'm old school. Maybe that's the whole problem.
But I also think you are being a little naive to assume that never was to happen, that we all have our own little ideas or little plans and our hopes that we want, right? And the producers, have never gone into any season ever without some sort of plan. Again, they're always incredibly flexible.
Sure.
All right, things change, but when they cast every season, they're like, they have guesses who's going to be their hero. Who do they think might be a potential bachelor? Who do they think is going to be their villain? That can change, but this is not a coin flip. It's a TV show. It's a multi-million-dollar TV show. They're not flipping coins and just seeing what happens and relying on organic chemistry to create TV.
And we could talk about this until we're blue in the face. At the end of the day, it becomes a he said, she said. I'm not going to out my source.
Sure, I don't.
We'll be on different sides.
I mean, it's not sources. I'm just more.
But that's one part of the problem. Okay, so the plan thing, that was where my biggest issue was. The secondary issue is, do you think it's a little hypocritical? If Demi was dating a guy back home, would this situation be treated the same, or do we need to just turn a blind eye to that?
Yeah, I mean, again, my point is that this is, I mean, I know you're an open-minded person, right? So it has nothing to do with whether you're pro gay relationship or not. I know that you are, right? And some of these things, like progress, sometimes you have to force change. I mean, again, I don't necessarily think the Bachelor franchise is responsible for like progressive change in our society, but it's because they are a staple of pop culture. It's good that they are willing to do those things and share that thing. So like, I mean, there is no rules in paradise. Where did this golden rule of Chris Harrison coming down from the mountain and with a tablet written in stone, all the things can and can't happen in the Bachelor franchise? Well, there are exceptions to every rule. And yes, if Demi, I'll say this much about your scenario. Mm-hmm. If the producers thought it would be good TV, they would do it. At the end of the day, that's all that matters.
So that's my problem with it. I think as a show, they're a little hypocritical. If you remember from my Paradise season, Joe Bailey never even met Samantha and got roasted and death threats and all kinds of hate from the world, from producers for just sliding in a DM.
The show changes, I get,
but now Demi can have a actual human relationship back home, whether it's a guy, female, and everyone just is supposed to just be cool with it.
I wrote a poem and gave someone flowers and was told I was strategic and creepy, and some other guy does it and he's the most romantic. I mean, again, that's music they're playing. That's the story they're telling within the season.
And that's the whole. That was the point I was trying to make from one tweet, and it blew up to this entire thing. I was just simply stating the fact, that's weird. Other people have done this and gotten roasted for it. Demi can do it, and everyone thinks she's the queen.
Every situation is different, and I go back to Demi was honest with producers, and you know that that's really all you really need to do. When you get caught lying to producers and cast members, you get in trouble. And Joe lied to both.
Sure.
And that's how he got put in that corner that he did. None of this stuff is a real crime, right?
No, not at all. Everyone has the freedom to do what they want.
But it comes down to that, and I just think, like, as someone who has a young gay sister and they're portraying a gay relationship in a very positive light, I think that's a great thing, and I'm really less worried about the righteousness of Paradise.
I also think it's a great thing.
I know you do.
I'm just worried.
You're just such a diehard fan.
I am. I just want to watch something that is completely as unscripted as possible. I get that it's never completely unstaged or storylines
The Bachelor is so unscripted relative to other reality TV shows that we are aware of. But it is staged, and that's okay because they have to otherwise it would just be a free-for-all, and it wouldn't be compelling.
I guess this storyline is just the most staged thing I think the show has ever done.
I would disagree, but I don't. And even if you were right, who cares?
Right. Well,
you have we can probably agree, whether it's going to be Mike or sometime, that the show is due for a black bachelor.
100%.
Right? Yeah. Do you have a problem with the knowing that as the result of the show, it's a dating show, it is about love, and so it's with the format of casting someone from a previous season to be the next lead. You know, it's the farm system of the show. Do you have a problem if the lead and the producers are, let's say the lead is not necessarily super into someone, but they're like, you know what? I want to bring this person along because I really think that they have bachelor potential, and they give them group date roses and first impression roses, and they bring them all the way to hometowns, and they never really thought they were going to pick them, but they really respected them and liked them, and maybe there was someone else they were more physically attracted to and would like to make out with more than someone else, but they weren't, like. And in the real world, in the most authentic world, that's what they would. And do you have a problem with the show or the lead bringing someone further than they otherwise would because they think it's good for the show and they need to bring someone and tell their story so they can make them the Bachelor?
I think I have a small problem. I in a perfect world, I wish that as you as the you should know this is better than anybody. You as the lead, I wish it was completely up to Nick and how the dominoes fell. The dominoes fell. I think
no, you don't. As a TV fan, I'm telling you, you actually don't.
Because it'd be worse TV, I guess.
You really don't. I will say that it is the show. They never make you send people home that you think you could see yourself with, and they will let you vet out every relationship that you have that you need to vet out to pick the right person. That is true.
Sure. I guess just producing while the show is going on is their job. What I didn't like about the situation is, in my opinion, I feel like the production happened before the show even began. I think the planning had begun, and I think that plays out on our TV screens. I mean, I'll be all the craziness with that one tweet and all the press that got, and then Demi clapping back at me. 95% of comments have been, "You're 100% right. I feel like it's fake." I think it bleeds through our TV screen a little bit, and I think they're doing a disservice.
I don't like it using social media as a scientific poll because if you look at Demi's, you probably
same side on that
other side of it.
One more point I want to bring up though. So I was team Demi all the way along. I made one tweet. I actually deleted it after like 5 minutes because I was like, I don't want to die on that hill. I'm happy for Demi. Let's just move on. And then press ran with it the next day. That's how this whole thing even began. But Demi's clap back to me. Another reason I think she's hypocritical. Okay.
Yeah, but
and let me go here. So
put yourself in her shoes.
Sure, but this is what she says. Oh, fuck off. That's not the same at all. Let me teach you something about going down on your wife. A woman that wants to be an advocate for awareness and those type for sexual preferences is now making fun of me for my sexual preferences. It's insane to me. So the reason she got that, me and Jade did marriage boot camp a few years ago. It got brought up that I didn't at the time enjoy performing oral sex.
What? Oh my God, really?
So
do you think she knew that?
Yes. That's the only reason she said it. Yes. So that came up. It's on like Reddit boards and stupid stuff from the marriage boot camp days. So that was from my personal preference for my previous relationship. I didn't enjoy it with my ex. I'm fine with Jade now. Our sex life is fine, I assure you. But she is trying to throw low blows at my sexual preference. But then,
what does it have to do with? What do you mean sexual? Like your taste and
and my activity. But now I am supposed. I just feel like it's super, super hypocritical for someone that wants the world to be open about sexual preferences. Her first response to me is attacking my sexual activity.
I'm not saying that's okay, and I'm not saying, and I'm sure Demi probably was, frustrated and angry. Put yourself in her shoes, and I'm not defending the words, but a Bachelor in Paradise certainly. Legend, alumni new cast members always look at alumni, and before they were stars in the current season, they looked at us, and a lot of them watched us and followed us, fans of us, and you get that a lot. And then here you have someone, and imagine for all the attention she's getting that's positive, she's getting a lot of criticism and that stuff that's not her fault or whether the show, and here's this young woman who's doing this. And you were in it. It's hard for us. It's hard for people, and we can be snarky, and we snark. And for the people, when you're on the other end, it can be really tough. It's even harder now with social media being what it is. I'm just saying, to hear that from you, and then have the Godfather of Paradise with the first real marriage in Paradise, shows some criticism and it gets picked up by tabloids. She gets defensive. She's hurt. She's worried. And she claps back. I'm not defending what she said, but man, she's in a tough position right now. And I think we're probably getting into the weeds. Was it a low blow? Sure. I don't think she was really thinking about she was definitely It was a poke.
It was defensive.
Also, like, you're not that sensitive.
No, I'm fine.
I know you're fine.
I can take anything. I'm simply stating that I think that's another reason she has been a little hypocritical during all this. I would love to chat with her about it face to face.
We've all been hypocritical at times.
But I think I probably hit a nerve, and she was defensive because it was true. And
wait.
I think that's why when people clap back like that, it's usually because they're backed into a corner and they know they know that it's true. And
I just because Clay tweeted something about me being on the show 7 times, I clapped back, and I wasn't on 7 times.
Right.
I mean, I guess what I'm saying is it's especially when current cast members get criticism from alumni, I think it stings a little harder. And I think they get a little bit more defensive, true or not, about some of the feedback. And again, it's all a matter of perspective. You and I can get in the weeds about like what happened. To me, I don't think my argument, it doesn't really matter, because you're still seeing an authentic relationship played out on TV, regardless of what the intentions are. And I personally think that's a good thing. That is really my only argument. I don't really care about the rest. And I think all this other stuff is just counterproductive to like just it being an overall positive thing. I sometimes do get surprised with our society about wasting energy about things that don't ultimately matter. I know you're a passionate TV fan. I know you like the show, but bigger picture,
right?
I feel like we could all just chill out and not be so righteous about like technicalities, because the truth is every season is different, and like there's gonna be a level. I mean, you as a fan, I'm telling you, you don't want it as authentic as you think you do,
because you think it'll be less or more boring.
And it doesn't take away from how authentic it is, but there has to be some structure. Otherwise, it's just the Wild West, man. Like, otherwise, like if it was really authentic to the way that you want it, every season the lead would send everyone home but 4 week 2,
because
and they would spend all their time with the 2 of them.
Right.
That's what would happen.
I guess that wouldn't make good TV.
So I'm just saying, like, people are
you're making good points. I guess just as a fan, I wish I could believe what I was seeing on TV 100%. I think the whole Derek Demi thing was just a little bit more of a pawn play, and maybe
I think Derek really liked Demi.
No, I think Derek honestly did,
and I think Demi really liked Derek, and I think she was caught off guard by how much she liked him.
So. Someone sent me a DM too. This is just another. No.
Also, I mean, I do have a little bit of a problem with like all these DMs that go on between people inside Bachelor Nation and us. Like, it's a little like reality, Steve, of like, I have my sources, and I'm not saying you don't, but it's all a matter of perspective. Bachelor Nation is fucking high school, and it's a lot of like people trying to keep other people. It's all a rat race and a competition of all the things that are going on, and I think everyone has an angle when it comes to spreading rumors and I don't know. I kind of have a problem with that.
Well, that wasn't. I agree with that part of it, but that was when I was getting at. So Derek on his podcast basically said that he had met Kristian back in January.
Okay.
Do you think that's weird? A coincidence? He was neighbors. So I guess Catherine Argo was on Colton season.
That's how Demi and met.
And apparently Catherine lives like right next door to Derek. Do you think that's weird that Demi ended up going after the guy?
I think that's a coincidence.
It just seems a little odd if Derek actually...
I mean, I guess I don't know. Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think Derek's that good of an actor. So if you're saying that was somehow part of this whole thing, I don't know. Then Derek is a really good actor, and he was in it the whole time. And I mean, I guess I don't know that for sure. I would be shocked. That would be the best kept secret and the best acting performance by Derek of all time. And I also know that like it's just I just know it's not true by like some of the post show things and communication and conversations I've had with Derek and Demi. It would just be so what I'm saying, because you're kind of implying like they met and this whole thing was orchestrated.
I'm not saying that at all because I don't know.
No, but like
no one told me that. I'm just saying that's another
if
weird
it's not a
coincidence.
Yeah, but again, they all meet and we all hang out, and it's a small world, and I don't know. I just think we're getting a little too detective-y and I don't know. I have a bigger problem with all this other stuff that's going on, and it's no better or worse.
I agree. I'm actually more annoyed at the fact that Blake and like Hannah G went to fly and meet a week before. This Demi thing that I made one comment about just got like all the press and attention.
But you doubled down. You kept like, and I know like you good at making an argument, and you have conviction, which I love about you. And you're like, why you were always cool with me when we went on the show is that like you're not a follower.
Right.
I get that.
If something bothers me, I'm going to speak my mind about it.
But you just kept it going.
Well, when she responds with, "Let me teach you how to go down on your wife," I'm like, you know what? I'm not done with this. I'm gonna go a little further. She threw a little gasoline on my fire. I was disrespected by that a little bit, even though it didn't affect me and like bother me to my core. I'm just like, if someone's gonna respond with that, let's go. And we're on different sides of the fence. It's a he said, she said. I believe to know what I know is true, and you do as well. And we'll probably honestly never know because Demi's really the only one that truly knows.
My argument is none of that matters, and I wish for the fans like yourself who are diehard TV fans who are open-minded would just chill out about the TV.
Sure.
And because I think we've proven over the past 30 minutes, we don't really know. We can get in the weeds about comparing situations. We all like, and I can tell you, like, it is an authentic show. It is not scripted. It has to have some structure, and they sometimes have to create storylines. So when you feel like they maybe aren't hiding as well as they do some other times, the storylines, just sit back and enjoy the show. And if you can't like that storyline, there's still other storylines. There's JPJ. He's losing his mind at a wedding.
Yeah, he's proving to be. Are you team JPJ or not?
I'm team weirdo, an interesting person, of which he is.
Right. I think he is entertaining. I do think he's a little bit of a psychopath. If what they're portraying is true, he's a little.
I always like to look at like how much do you think is edited versus not.
Yeah, it's so hard to say unless you were there.
And so much of that, but like, man, I think this is just him.
Yeah.
And I think all these things, like how do you edit around him? Like, this is not voiceover stuff, right? This is him.
It's multiple scenes too. It's not like one weird scene.
Of the camera on him losing his shit. Here's the thing about the JPJ. I think this episode is the peak of the show showing their youth, specifically 100%. When it comes to the men. Is that the show has gotten younger over the past couple seasons with casting Colton and Hannah, right? A lot of people have said, oh, it's gotten really young. And interesting enough, on Hannah's season, you had a lot of like good young men who are like, young or not, Tyler and Peter and Mike. Mike's 31.
Right. But they've proven to be mature.
They've proven to seem to be mature, but we both know within the Bachelor franchise, you see silos and you actually get very limited of people's personalities. Not to take anything away from them, but there's a more of a structure in the Bachelorette and the Bachelor playbook. So like Tyler, like great guy, I kind of tease the fact that like he just showed up and complimented Hannah.
Right.
He just kept doing that. Right. It's kind of same with Peter, and they kind of let Luke be the total asshole, and everyone looked awesome as it compared against Luke. Right. But on Bachelor in Paradise, it's more of the free-for-all, right? They're more willing to see sides. And then you have this environment where you have these 24, Dylan's 24, JP Chade's 24, 25-year-old guys, right? Competing for these women. And these women, like Tayshia, some of them are a year, 2, 3 years older than them. And they're like, and I think about when you were 24. I think I watch this show and I think about being 24 and like, look at Tyler. Tyler, America's, sweetheart, but lately he's getting a lot of criticism for being kind of soft and just being like, dude, you're obsessed, and for what? And like every scene, he's hanging on Hannah. Like every time, that check-in, you and Jade got it. It's like, all right, we know they're together. They're not really compelling right now. We'll get to them later in the season. So like every episode, we'll just remind you that they're in a relationship, and you'll see a quick beat, and it's like Hannah carrying Dylan.
Right.
It's just, so like he's just a little puppy dog, but that's what it is. It's like puppy dog love. He has, and I think that's, you see his youth of just like, you kind of have this, he's very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're all just very serious about it, right? The mentality is, I'll do anything for love, all in the name of love, right? And
they haven't had that relationship experience to realize that there's many different types of love.
Yeah, right. And so you see this Dylan is this like, he's just got this puppy dog love, and he's like, to him, and in a way it is kind of noble to fight for the girl you want, and regardless of how she treats you. And that's Dylan. Then you have JPJ, who's this kind of like, again, still this kind of this, I think it's the same mentality. I mean, he's still a little crazy, but it's still in this notion of, he thinks he's got it convinced that Derek is not
this bad guy.
He's a bad guy. He's shitting on podcasts.
Oh, I know.
The way.
By the way, I like Dean's little plug for his podcast.
Great.
Yeah.
I
was like, that is great, Dean.
Yeah, it was just so good.
But yeah, he's really got it up for Derek for some reason. And probably there's like this, I feel like there's this like young versus old like divide in Bachelor Nation a little bit.
Totally. But when you were in real life, when you were 24,
oh wow,
right? 21, 22, and you had female friends, and if any of the girls in your like group or extensive group, or even some girl you knew or a girl you had a crush on, and you found out she was dating like a 29-year-old, what'd you think of that guy?
Oh, douche, yeah. Creepy
dude. 29.
Dude. Yeah.
29-year-old.
Yeah.
You thought he was just like the old guy, really? And I'm like, he could have been 27 and you were 24. He could have been just 3 years older than you, and you were like, really? You're gonna go with that old guy? He can't get anyone his age. Young men
why is he not married yet? He must have issues.
Young men were I was such a hater of such any guy who was like a little bit older than like me, and then when the women my age, because when you're younger and you're a guy, you kind of just date women your age. Right. You know, you can't go, you really don't go much younger, because when you're 19, there's, you know, and it's just, you know, you have that weird, and when you're 21, there's that kind of weird part in your life where, because of like the drinking age, you know, granted, people go to the bars when they're younger.
Right.
But it's kind of like, well, I can't really date someone who can't go to the bar.
Right.
So you kind of just date within relative to your age range and maturity level.
100%.
And then as you get older, it kind of it
gap
expands.
widens.
But if you're a young guy, you are such a hater. And to your point, I think you're seeing that because
within Bachelor Nation.
Yeah, on social media, I think all the guys hate us.
Oh, 100%. It feels that way anyway.
Yeah, like some of the women are, you know, they've gotten to know some of the alumni. Like I've become good friends with, especially Demi and I have become really close friends. And I've met some of the other women through Demi, and they're all nice. And I've had Anna on. She's nice. I don't really know Hannah that well. Yeah. But I haven't really met, you know, like Peter and Tyler I've gotten to know, and really nice guys. But the guys I haven't known, and then I'm critical of some of their friends. Just I feel like you can feel that they hate us, and I think a lot of it has to do because they're sitting there back, be like, just go away, you old dude,
you old has been, yeah. But there is like a weird competition within Bachelor Nation, because especially with all
has been,
but it's getting more and more with all more social media stuff, and then relationship stuff after the show, opportunities. So I feel like people are just super like catty.
But you think more? I think that has always been the case.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just grown. I guess
it's grown because it's, you know, it's the social. It's this more visibility on, but like, you know, yeah, that's always been the case in terms of all the spoilers and the people who go out and reach out to people who like spoilers. You know, that's always, and it's, you know how it is. And again, when I met you, you know, when we met, you were always like, Tanner was one of the first people that Tanner was my first roommate when I showed up.
That's true.
Tanner was one of the first people
back when no one wanted to room with you.
Yeah.
You were the intruder. You were the creepy old guy from a previous season.
At the time, everyone was kind of our age, though.
Right.
Ben was. So that's the thing. Ben was 26 and considered like a baby. Yeah. But like most of the people that season, we were all kind of relative the same age. I was the old guy by proxy of like the previous season.
Right.
Tanner was always just really, you were cool, open-minded, you were curious. I always wondered though, were you doing that were you kind of being a spy?
For the show, you mean? Or
even for yourself?
Yeah, for myself.
Were you like, I'm going to be nice to this guy and I'm going to see if I can friend him up to see if...
Yeah, I didn't know I'd actually still be talking to you here like 4 or 5 years later and we'd actually be friends. But yes, I just wanted to get on, you know, like frenemies. I wanted to get behind enemy lines a little. That was my initial reaction with you.
I felt that.
Yeah, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to find anything out if I just don't talk to him and just leave him in the corner. I want to, you know, pander a little bit. I like a little gossip. I like to pander. I like a lot of gossip, and that's how I roomed with you.
At what point We remember when we were in Dublin and we went walking and they shared that.
Yeah.
Was that sincere or were you still spying on me?
I got sincere that week.
Okay.
Because as we all know, it was Team Nick versus Team Sean, and like 90% of the house was Team Sean. I was one of the few that was like, you know what? I think Nick is actually the better, more real person right now. But we don't need to get into the whole Sean thing.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Well,
No, but it became
Jared was
real.
Team Sean. Ben was Team
100%.
Sean.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. But yeah, you were always very, very cool to me that way. And I think to that point, and the reason I bring that up is going back to the competition in Bachelor Nation that you find is it didn't matter to you that I was the perceived villain at the time, because for most people it does. Most people when
don't want to align themselves with that person.
They don't even want to take pictures with them. Yeah. If you take a picture and someone comments, "Oh, like, why are you hanging out with so and so?" It can be very superficial, and it becomes very high schoolish, and it's everyone is trying to build some brand.
Yeah, everyone's so image conscious, and I don't feel like they're being honest with themselves. Whereas I began to like you that season because I felt like you would just say what was on your mind, and I didn't feel like you had like another storyline behind that. You've always been very just honest, even if it may not be what I want to hear or vice versa. And I think that's why I became Team Nick.
Oh, thanks. Well, I mean, our good friend Ashley is kind of I always find that Ashley and I are similar in that sense. I mean, there's a lot of differences we have, but Ashley was always just going to be Ashley. And I think those people, you could say the same thing about Demi. Yeah. In a traditional sense, Demi would have, especially when the show's evolved in terms of how villains are, Demi was going to be a villain. 5 years ago, Demi was a super villain.
Yeah, people.
And there would have been no real arc. They would have just been. She would just been a villain.
Right. Kind of like Courtney. She kind of reminded me of Courtney Robertson. Remember that season a long time ago?
Sure.
Same type of outspoken kind of vibe.
And had Colton been more into Demi, and let's say Demi went further, she could have easily been just as hated as Courtney, right?
For sure.
Even look at Corinna in my season. You know, kind of the villain, but not also a huge fan favorite.
Right.
Right. And so the show's evolved to how they're portraying what is the definition of a villain or not. But I guess my point is just like people are more like in the past, they would stay away from it and they would just be critical. But I do think the people who are more willing to be authentic over time, fans do tend to appreciate them. I just think cast members have a hard time with that. They're so afraid. They're so And to your, I agree with you, inauthentic with what they're saying. I mean, we're watching like Hannah this season. Hannah G, you're every time she goes like this and looks up, I think she's just thinking about how is this good for my brand?
Right. She's total. I haven't been able to connect to her at all this season, and I thought she was going to be great. She was like one of the most wanted girls in Paradise history, but for some reason, I just can't buy into her relationship. Or her even. Maybe it's for that reason. But
I'm a part of it. In fairness, like Dylan's so aggressive with how much he likes her, and it's like no one can. If you're not Ashley and Jared, there can't be you can't be this obsessed with each other.
Right.
You know. And listen, like that wasn't always the case for Ashley and Jared, but that is how their relationship now. But so it just looks that way because Dylan likes her so much. But Hannah has never. In the 2 seasons, I have never met her, I don't know her, but she's never come across as someone who's really good at expressing emotion.
Right.
I mean,
which is probably why she didn't get Bachelorette.
Probably.
You know,
I mean, she almost looked mildly annoyed when Colton broke up with her.
Right.
You know, not like devastatedly heartbroken. And I'm not saying she wasn't. It's just it doesn't read.
Doesn't portray. Right.
It doesn't portray.
Right.
But anyways, I just think that youth part on the show, I mean, in fairness to JPJ, did he come across a little Mark Wahlberg in the movie Fear? Yeah. It was like, JPJ was like one of those guys where super cool and chill until he's not.
Right.
You know? Like JPJ is the guy on the 5 o'clock news where you're like, that person, like witness number 3, the neighbor, he's just like, you know, he was always just a really nice guy. He's the nicest guy.
Until he popped.
Until he snapped.
Yeah, this episode, when he was talking to Derek, it gave me like Dahmer vibes. His eyes turned and it was just creepy. I don't know. I'm sliding on Team JPJ. I actually was a big John Paul Jones fan going into this.
I think you still can be. I don't think one episode of him losing his shit on camera defines him as a person.
Right.
But he is, I think, again, he is convinced that he's right.
Which is scary.
Which is scary.
Yeah.
And not okay. I think that shows youth. That little scene of Derek calmly. And Derek reminds me a lot of myself too, is that sometimes like I can be very calm in a fight and I want to talk things through.
Right.
Which in romantic relationships and in any relationship, that hasn't always served me well. Because when you're fighting with someone who's super calm, it pisses the other person off more.
That's the most annoying
It's the most annoying thing. And that's gotten me in trouble a lot.
Jade is that way, actually.
She's super calm?
Super calm. And I'm normally chill, but when I like lose it, I want that like,
yeah.
I don't want to call it passion, but I want that like up and down and a little bit of craziness. And she's so here that like I get more frustrated when we're in an argument because like, she's not giving me anything. It's like indifference is like the worst. You know?
Totally. It's not a matter of indifference though. From like defending Jade. At least for me, I care, but I'm just like I don't understand. There's no point of like us yelling at each other and yelling at stupid shit that isn't what we're yelling about. So let's actually talk about and that has always been a problem for me in relationships.
Well, it's probably better to be on your end because let's look at the John Paul Jones versus Derek thing. Derek looks a lot better now than John Paul Jones, I probably look a lot worse in fights with Jade.
Yeah. So anyway, like Derek's trying to talk to him, and JPJ's just nope. Like, okay, well, first of all, you're basing this information off a couple things he might have said that you're interpreted, and again, like who knows who's in John Paul Jones' ear about like how right reasons and stuff like that. But he's taken this little like seed of podcast and decided that. Meanwhile, this is Tayshia who set this whole thing in motion by. We talk a lot on our podcast about communication and setting up front expectations. Tayshia was kind of shitty in this whole situation.
Yeah.
If Tayshia knew she didn't want to be with John Paul Jones. This wasn't like, I don't think I want to be with John Paul Jones. It was, I don't want to be with John Paul Jones. John Paul Jones likes me. He's fun. He's weird. He's interesting. He's fine. I'll date him. He's giving me roses. This is cool. Derek's not available. He's with Demi. Oh, wait, Derek's a free agent? Ooh, how do I get out of this situation without looking like a total...
She tried to kind of let JPJ down a little easy, but she didn't let him off the hook. She left him...
It's that classic case of half-truths and leading people on, which people don't like and always gets messier. She left him off the hook because he likes her. And in relationships, we're always testing each other, right?
Right.
So and JPJ is literally like, well... I mean, I
need to prove my worth. I need to fight for her.
Right? Does it mean she doesn't like me? And we can all, from an outsider's point of view, be like, yeah, dude, she doesn't like you. But imagine a guy who's in love or obsessed.
24 years old.
And looking for his wife since he was 18.
Yeah, that's weird too.
It's not that weird.
Looking for your wife at 18?
It's weird to us because we are older.
Right.
But when you were 18...
You thought you were going to get married at 22.
24, and now you're at 18, and the world tells you you're an adult. And now, if you grow up in a family where it's just like your parents got married at 22, you actually are thinking, well, I guess I'm looking for my wife. It's not as insane as it sounds from someone has life perspective and got married in his 30s. It sounds insane, but to JPJ, it's not insane. And
do you like the Bachelor seasons with the more young or more old, or do you like the mix?
I'm fine with it changing, right? I think again, people in life fear change. People hate change. They're resistant to change for all the things we talked about earlier. But we all desire change, and even though when we were resistant, we often really need it, and it keeps things interesting. So I like that they're mixing it up. I don't want them to stay young. I want them to
get old and then
get older and like mix it up because there's elements of showing, what younger people are like as they're looking for love, and that kind of unbridled passion and just kind of, it comes across as more sweet and authentic and raw, but also immature and misguided and a little like crazy. Because that's what being young is all about. And then when you get older, it's a little bit more mature and arguably more believable, but it's a little bit more, it seems a little bit more structured and too well thought out and resistant to just going for it.
Right.
I'm fine with either. Yeah. I think I just hope they continue to mix it up. But JPJ, I should kind of chill out. I will say, I've never been more curious about a reunion special, especially for Paradise, because a couple things I'm really curious about. What is Dylan's point of view
about the Blake stuff?
About the Blake or no, more himself.
Oh.
Like in terms of like
being a whipping boy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what's your point of view on yourself? I'm curious about JPJ is perception of Derek and himself how do you look that back? And specifically, he didn't get to see what Tayshia was all about. Right?
He's seen behind the camera or behind the curtain a little bit.
Yeah. So he didn't get to see that Tayshia was kind of playing him for a fool and leading him on.
Right.
And JPJ thinks he's fighting for the woman he loves.
He feels like he's so right. And he's got to be a little uncomfortable watching
If I'm JPJ, I go into this thing pissed off at Tayshia and apologetic to Derek.
That's the only way he can.
I don't know if he will.
Right. But that's the only way he can look good, in my opinion.
Probably.
What do you think about Blake? How do you think he'll be at the reunion? Because I agree. I think this reunion will be better than the season. And the season's been good. For my critiques about stage and not stage, it has been entertaining TV, to your point.
There we go.
Right. So I agree with that it is entertaining. I guess my purest heart.
Such a fucking stubborn little.
I know I am. But I think the reunion's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm more interested. What do I think Blake's going to do? I don't know. I think the only thing Blake should do is fall on the sword, show humility, make fun of yourself, try to be somewhat lighthearted, but also show humility and don't include the word but.
Does he say that a lot?
No, but like that's what people do is, I'm sorry, but I shouldn't have done that. However,
right.
Take that out of your vocabulary. If you want other people in your peers to like chime in and say, in fairness to Blake, I X, Y, and Z and defend him, let them do it. Do not do it for yourself. Only apologize for what you did wrong. Own up to your actions. Even if you think it's slightly unfair, I would absolutely apologize to Kaylin for the text messages. I would completely fall on the sword. I would show humility, apologize, and if other people want to defend you, so be it. That's all he should do. I very much doubt he will do that.
That is good advice. Blake, if you're listening, do that.
Unfortunately, this will drop after he records it.
Right. Yeah, it actually records today, the reunion.
Yeah. So I don't think he will do that. Should we segue into you personally?
Yeah, let's talk about life as a lot of married dad.
A lot of bitch. So you have a son.
I have a son now.
How is that going? Do you like him more than the daughter?
Going into before I had Emmy, before any pregnancy in my life, I always thought I wanted a boy.
Same.
Only, first, whatever. I just
want a boy.
I wanted a boy. But to be honest, like my connection with my daughter probably initially was like the most strong. I don't know if that's because she was a daughter or because she was first.
Sure.
Whatever it is, but my honest answer is like I feel right now more connected to Emmy, and I feel bad saying that because I've got a beautiful newborn son there, but
you hear that a lot though.
Maybe it just takes time.
And it's always weird because it's like I feel like traditionally men always dream about having a son.
100%.
And I guess I can't speak for women, but not surprised to say women might dream about having a daughter.
Right.
And yet you always hear about the father-daughter bond or the mother-son bond.
Right now it feels different, and I really feel bad saying that because like I want to love, and I will love them equally for different reasons, but I feel it right now more with Emmy, and I don't know why. I think that'll change over time. I think the newborn stage for me is just really hard, if I'm being open and honest.
What's the hardest part about it?
Just the incessant crying. Like it makes me go crazy. It does. Like it's really hard because it's different right now because when Emmy was little, I was working my regular job and I was gone most of the time. I came home for a little bit of playtime and oh, cute baby, okay, night. And that was it. It was super easy. I hand it to all the stay-at-home moms and dads out there. If you're staying home with your kid, it's a lot. I am way more stressed now that I'm not working at home with two little ones than when I was working. I'm more exhausted, more mentally tired. It's a lot of work. And like, honestly, working is easier than being a stay-at-home mom.
Amen.
It's 100%
I remember my mom
true.
growing up and people would ask her like, what does she do for a living? And I'm like, do you have any idea?
It's insane, man. Like I'm not talking a little harder. It's like 10 times harder.
And I mean, and you know that you have a charmed life in terms of you guys are doing very well and your financial security to have the comforts. And imagine like for the people who don't. And you're still acknowledging how hard.
Oh yeah. When you add in other struggles in life, I reach out to those people. You're the real heroes because it is hard. But yeah, the first 6 months, I remember it with Emmy a little bit, but it's tough. I don't know if it's because we're guys and we didn't have that bond of carrying the child. It takes a little time to build that up. And plus they're just really difficult. He wants mom all the time. I don't have milk here to provide.
Is it kind of like you kind of feel like he doesn't really want you? So you're like, fuck it, I don't really want you either.
I mean, maybe a little bit.
You guys are already fighting.
In nicer words than that, yes. But
that's really interesting. I get a lot of questions on my Questions with Nick on my Instagram and here. I get a lot of questions about the romance in a relationship, especially after kids. You and Jade have been married for how long now?
What romance?
Yeah. But how long?
No, we've been married for 3.5.
3.5 years. And Emmy is how old now?
Just turned 2.
And how long have you known each other? You guys got married.
This is 4 years ago from Paradise, so a little over 4 years.
Being real, like how has the romance in this has changed?
Much to the disbelief of Demi, romance was great before. Just kidding.
Unnecessary.
Just kidding. But it's changed completely. So I want it more now. Maybe that's just because
the sex.
Yes.
You want some sex.
I want some sex more now.
Great.
Jade wants it less.
I mean,
I get why.
Yeah.
But it is hard. That's one of the biggest things we talk about. As soon as Emmy came and she started breastfeeding, that jacked with her hormones a little bit, I think. And she just had her focus was on Emmy, as it should be. But it took a dive then. And then pretty much right after the breastfeeding stopped, we got pregnant again with Brooks. And, went through the whole pregnancy. And now he's here and we have 2 kids. It is tough. I feel like I beg for it. And I don't want to feel selfish. I hate asking. I hate trying.
Sure.
Because, I don't want it to be, pity sex. And I don't want to, annoy Jade. And I realize that her priority should be on the kids, not me. But I do feel
have you
on the back
curated some
burner.
really good porn?
Have I what?
Curated some really good porn? What do you...
I have to.
What are you into?
No.
Is curious, how is... do you watch porn?
Do I?
Are you...
I'm not really a big porn guy.
Is your masturbation schedule really upped?
No, I'm not. I feel like now that I'm married, I don't want to go that route as much as when I was single, if that makes sense. I don't know why.
Have you... But you, from time to time?
Yes, if Jade's out of town,
What
I will.
is Jade's thoughts on you watching porn?
She just doesn't want to know when I relieve myself. She doesn't want to know.
She doesn't want to know.
She's okay with me with doing it. She doesn't want to know, hey, I'm going to the room right now. See ya,
Well, yeah, that's just
Right.
weird. But if she knew you were watching porn while masturbating, would she care? I get this is a very hot topic out there.
I think I don't know. I guess you'll have to ask her. I don't really have that conversation with her.
Oh, well.
So I guess I'm going to have a conversation soon.
You heard it here first. Do you think it's cheating?
No, I don't think it's cheating.
Okay. I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming, in all jokes aside, that you don't hide that from Jade.
No.
She doesn't want to know, but also, would you agree that you feel like it's just a matter of perspective and whether that person feels threatened, and do they feel threatened because they feel insecure about the relationship itself versus Jade is aware that right now she just isn't into it,
right?
And she gets that she's not afraid of you going somewhere else, so it's hey,
right,
whatever.
Yeah, I can't speak for everyone that has issues with it, but I think if you're able to give to your partner to satisfy their needs, then great. Maybe it shouldn't be a part of your life as at all or as much or whatever the case being. But if you're at a period in your life where you can't fulfill certain needs, I don't think you can view it as cheating or view it as trust issues. Because
sometimes you just go porn free and just close your eyes and think of your lovely wife.
Yeah.
It's so romantic.
Yeah, I have. Honestly, when she's out of town before, like I said, now that I'm married, I honestly don't do it that often. When I was when I was a single guy and just wasn't doing my own thing, sure, and I was bored Tuesday night, I would, if I was in the mood.
When you're traveling, do you guys minus this period right now, do you guys have a sexual relationship where you're open about sex?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you ever tell her that you've done that?
Done what?
thought of her when not like you were traveling business road trip.
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
hey, just this is what
I have told her that before. I think
feel like that's kind of a
it's like
turn
a
on.
form of flattery. Yeah.
100%. I feel like she might
and like
into that. I don't know.
I think
we'd have no women in the room.
She wasn't like disgusted by it. I think she liked it. Better her than me watching something else.
I feel like that's kind of
But like Jade did Playboy before.
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about that.
I have access to some stuff when she's out of town. Yeah,
I forgot about that. You really do have a spank bank of your life.
Right.
That's weird to say.
It is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, and so do you guys talk about the fact that you're not having a ton of sex right now?
Yeah, we talk about it a lot. We try to have constructive criticism over it. Sometimes I get like a little down and throw myself a little pity party sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then she understands me, and like I think she feels bad, and it usually like leads to a little bit of pity sex or pity something. But
are there ever times where it's the opposite, like where you're not in the mood and she does?
So we went through a period shortly after we got engaged where it was like that. That's the only time in our 4-year,
What was that like? Because I feel like in traditionally in relationships, especially when I was younger, the assumption is guys always want the sex.
Sure.
And whenever the woman wants it, she's going to get it because like, and then if it doesn't happen, there's a lot of offense taken on the part of the person who's usually like, wait, what? You don't, I say no to you, not
Right.
the other way around. Was there a little bit of that?
Yeah, there were some hurt feelings there. And she still brings that period up now now that the shoe's on the
Sure.
other foot, she kind of uses that as like but remember when? And it's hard to argue with her. Because I don't know if it was just after the engagement and things became real. Like I was just.
Does she use it as a poking bear? But like, it's not like as if you don't understand why Jade might not be super turned on right now.
No, yeah. She's
right.
She's producing milk.
Sure.
Got baby on her. She's exhausted.
But like, why didn't you want to have sex? Why? What was that? The psychology. And again, I ask this because I think a lot of people listening, we have a lot of women listening, are like guys sometimes don't want to have. They're surprised.
Yeah.
Sometimes we just aren't in the mood.
Yeah, it was a few months like after we got married. So I think when we were engaged, I was like, let's go all the time. And then I think maybe after the culmination of the wedding and so many things, like I don't know if it was hormonal or what, but I just like my libido just dropped for like a 3-month period. It's the only time in my life I've ever just been like, listen, babe, I'm good. I don't know why.
You don't like, for me, nothing makes my libido go down more than stress. I'm in my head a lot, obviously. So that's stress. I mean, I don't want to make assumptions, but it would make sense. I would wonder if during that period of time, while you guys are engaged, but maybe that's a nice segue going back to what we talked about before. Like you always loved Jade and it was authentic, but like you guys have come a long way since the moment you asked Jade to marry her.
100%.
In terms of your, like how confident were you when you got down on one knee?
50-50.
50-50.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you'd asked me a week before proposal, like, week 4 of Paradise, I would have been like 1090, it
and
grew.
confident that you and Jade would be here today with 2 kids and a great relationship. That all the struggles that married couples can have, but you guys have a great relationship.
Yeah, I think 50-50, honestly.
50-50.
And I was scared because like I love Jade. I knew there was a foundation, but I was like one of those people, I only want to propose once, da-da-da-da. And my heart was like, yeah, I'm in this. But my head was like, the odds are against you, Dan.
Just to play devil's advocate, and I don't want to go back to what we talked about before, but could one argue that the fact that you were 50-50, that 50% of you thinking it might not work was you saying you were doing it for the moment for TV and wasn't as authentic as you imagine it would be when you propose to anyone regardless of TV?
Yeah, I think I was pressured by my surroundings of the TV to go that route.
Yeah. So that you could argue that was inauthentic. And I'm just saying it worked out.
Not authentic. I guess not staged at all. Just to put that out there. I didn't know Jade. I didn't have any plan
but
of
it was not as organic as the viewer would want. And that's fine because look at you guys now.
If there weren't cameras there, I would have waited 6 months, a year,
take a risk,
whatever.
And who knows? I mean, I remember when Vanessa. I mean, there's pressure, right? Some of it is just. I remember Vanessa. All jokes aside, like the Colton not getting engaged to Cassie, I think, is an ideal situation. A lot of leads would want to be an option because of like, let's just date, right?
Right.
I do remember,
especially on Bachelor, Bachelorette.
Yeah,
I think you're honestly way less at that point than the people in Paradise.
Sure.
Your time is so minimal compared.
But I do remember telling Vanessa at the time, it's just like, I'm going to be honest. I have all these feelings for you and I love you. And I kind of just feel like if we just decide to date, we have no shot. There's no stakes. It will be easiest for us to walk away. And if we like make this commit to each other because we love each other, I think we'll really want to fight for us and we'll really give it a real shot. And I believe that when I said that to her, right? And I think that's true. Do you think that the fact that you took this risk, even at the time it might have been a slightly authentic, do you think you and Jade had just as much of a chance to be together today had you just decided to date after Paradise and she lived in LA and you lived in Kansas City?
That's a really good question. I've never actually thought about it, but probably not. Because I think me proposing and she saying yes, I think that obviously pushed her to move to Kansas City quicker. Sure. And I think if we tried to do the long distance for too long of a time, it wouldn't have worked for me. I'm not a guy that can do long distance. So I think taking that step pushed things on the fast track, which allowed our relationship to survive. I think if we just left, we would have broken up in 3-6 months.
Interesting fact and point of view that sometimes you had to force a situation that was slightly inauthentic, and sometimes it is good to kind of take a risk, which is sometimes again maybe even hypocritical to some of the advice I sometimes give, that like you really got to trust your gut and not force something. There is that balance in relationships of I will say in any relationship I've ever had, I have no regrets, because I have always been guilty, if you want to call it that, of exhausting all my options in relationships in terms of like really fighting for that relationship I was committed to. And so by the time we broke up, it was like probably long overdue.
I'm the same way.
And I don't regret that for that reason of I know I didn't quit. And I was always steadfast. But like sometimes when I give a lot of advice, it's kind of like, hey man, you could spend 6 more months stressing over this thing, or you can kind of see the writing on the wall. And there is a balance, right?
Right.
It's trying to give someone that perspective, partly in a breakup situation, to not hang on to what's not real, and then pine over the things that you miss and long for because you're lonely. But
yeah, that's 100% true.
I think it's really fascinating, and I think thanks for being so transparent and honest about it. You are, if nothing else, very an open person. So where do you think you guys go from here in terms of like, are you guys done having kids?
Well, so we always said we wanted 3 or 4.
Okay.
You know, now that we've got a 2-year-old and a 4-week-old, if you had asked us right now, I'd be like, man, I don't know if I can do this again. Like, the hardest part for me is I want to get back to the point where like we can go to dinner with our kids, or we can travel with our kids and not have it be just like
such a
circus. Yeah. And I feel like every time you have a kid, you're just delaying that. You know, you're talking because realistically they got to be like 4 and 6 before you can really go start doing all the things you did before. So like I'm a little scared right now to say I want a third. I get there once things ease up again. Maybe even probably. But I don't know. What's
the before your the new baby came?
Yeah.
What were you guys doing? Because like Emmy was kind of, Jade was breastfeeding, but you guys are kind of settling into this routine. Were you? Do you guys plan dates? Do you guys do those kind of things?
Not as well as we should.
You don't. Okay.
Jade is
but you feel like you should.
Yeah.
You don't think that's just like a cliche?
No,
people say.
I think you need to, because I think it's super easy to always put your kids first. And I think probably the mom does it even more than the dad in most cases, just because of their motherly instincts. I think you have to take that time to put your relationship first. Otherwise, it won't succeed long term. You have to keep dating your spouse. I'm a firm believer in that. We try to like, again, it's hard right now because we've had such a newborn and Jade needs to be there. But like once he's a little older, we'll set a time once a week where we get a babysitter or my mom comes over and we're going to go just be us, whether it's to dinner, whether it's to a show, whether we go golf together, just because I think you need it. I think if you don't take that time to remove the kids from the equation, even for a couple hours, you're just going to be mom and dad, not husband and wife.
What is the things that you think have gotten you and Jade to where you have gotten to, especially with so much? I mean, let's be honest, your relationship has always been kind of tumultuous. Great, but like it's kind of been fast paced going and kind of like, and that includes stress. Like, what are some of the things that have gotten you through it? Yeah,
it's a blur. I think we've gotten through, I mean, heck, we got engaged, then married, then pregnant, then had a baby, then pregnant again, then had a baby in a closet. And it's been a whirlwind, not to mention moving across the country and all that. But I think we're content just being with each other and nothing else. We don't need to go out and do all these other sorts of things. We are each other's best friends and we balance each other out. I think we're complete opposites, which every once in a while can cause a fight, but I think mostly we balance each other out. So I don't know if there's like a real reason why. We're just both committed to each other. At the end of the day, I think being committed to someone and fighting through the lows will make it work.
That's great. What is your favorite thing about fatherhood, minus the stresses that we just?
Yeah, no. Again, I don't want to paint a picture that.
I don't think anyone gets that sense.
That I hate being a dad. Being a dad is the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Be specific.
Cliche, but I'm really starting to enjoy it with Emmy. She's just turned 2 and she's starting to communicate a little bit, and I feel like that's where I'm hitting my stride as a dad. She wants to play now and do like more stuff, and just those moments make all the crying and diapers and craziness worth it.
Do you think it's because, and I'm just like thinking off the top of my head, is that the mother might have this initial instinct because she's the mom, and you know, she obviously like literally baked the kid in her stomach,
and they're
breastfeeding, and there's this innate connection. And but like as Emmy's getting older and communicating, like you're now you're like starting to build a relationship because she's talking, and now you're building almost like this friendship with your daughter and getting to know each other in a way like you're literally getting to know her,
right?
And her you. Which it sounds like that would be kind of fun that you're not really doing when the baby has like no personality.
You can't, because when the baby,
I mean, I'm sure they have a personality.
Yeah, but they're little potatoes. You know,
they're just like
they don't need dad. Honestly, they could survive without you just fine. But now Emmy actually wants to do things with me, and you're right. That is how the relationship, any relationship, there needs to be kind of a mutual thing. And I think with a mom, there is that mutual thing because they shared, a body, and then they're sharing. If you're breastfeeding and just all that extra time, I think it takes time for dads. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't want to talk about because, you're supposed to paint this picture of, oh yeah, I love my baby from day one. And while I do love him, it takes time to build a bond, a true bond. And I'm really at that point with Emmy, and I can't wait to get there with my son too, because now I know the arc of how it works.
And it kind of makes sense. I never thought about it, but it's like, you don't know this person.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you, man? Like, I guess you kind of have my eyes, but I don't know.
Right.
Like, everything's kind of squished together anyways.
Right, 100%.
It's a weird thing to say that the pressure of, like you said, you feel like you're supposed to feel one way, but if you're being real honest, you feel another, and like coming to grips with that sensation is bizarre.
Yeah, and you just have to realize that it takes time. So I think if you are a mom or a dad, I mean, maybe some moms feel that way too. You'll get there. I mean, it's not one of those things that you don't feel like you're doing something wrong. It just takes time to get to know someone.
For all the moms and wives out there that are listening, what are some things as a married guy that you appreciate your wife doing, both in the bedroom and outside of it, in terms of what are some things that, well, let's focus on the bedroom first. Like, we get a lot of these questions. How do I've been married for 7 years. We have 3 kids. It's gotten stale. How do I mix it up? Man. And I feel like I have some ideas, but I'm not married with kids.
For me, it's just initiation. Like, I honestly feel that since we've had kids, like I initiate 99% of the time.
Okay.
And then when while the sex is great thereafter and I still enjoy it, like it's better when the wife initiates, even if you don't want to, I think throw the guy a bone a little bit and make him feel wanted, because I think as a dad or as a husband with new kids, it's easy to be put on the back burner. And if your wife shows that initial interest where you don't have to make the move first, that's the big difference to me.
So it's just the want.
For me, I mean, once I'm in the actual act of sex, or whatever you may be doing, that's all great. I mean, I enjoy that regardless of how we got there, but that initial want to, that's, at least personally, that's all I
If you were at
yearn
your
for.
fantasy football draft that you were last weekend,
Yep.
you're out there with your boys, and you and Jade sent you a little nude in the shower, a little hot. With you that
Yeah,
It'd
it would do it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like as when you're married, you don't do those things as much. So
Right?
like
Isn't
just to keep that spark alive, I think even if it's a little silly or just playful, it does just ignite that fire just enough to like, okay, my wife she still wants it. She still likes me.
right? It's
You
kind of that's the thing. It's just like what's so exciting about dating someone is the unknown and the mystery behind things, and this like, well, that is the excitement you get when you realize someone's into you.
It's the rush. It's the
It's that
chase a
rush.
little bit. Yeah.
And so I think maybe like kind of your point, like that great way of doing that is to surprise them by reminding them of the excitement you feel for them
Right.
in moments when least expected.
Right.
Yeah.
100%. I think if you do those little couple extra things, your husband will be okay if you start doing it less. They understand. I think as long as you just show that initiation, that want to, that little spark, that little something random here and there, just to let them know that they still matter and that you still want them a touch.
Also in moments too where like sex isn't even like if you're traveling or on the table. I only say that too because going back to when you didn't want to have the sex. As a guy, I think it's when the women want the sex and you don't, and there's this kind of disconnect. Did you feel more pressure and then get defensive as a result of it?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, when someone's constantly asking you for something, it probably just makes you want it less.
Doubles down.
Which I guess maybe I should stop asking so much because I'm probably guilty of that now.
Probably, but like, whatever. I mean,
Right.
Sure. But I guess what I'm saying is sometimes the excitement of like, if you're out of town, just to be like, I clearly can't have sex. We're
Right.
not here, but I just want you to know. Yeah. I wish you were. That excitement, that desire, that like the longing for someone.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't it feel good to feel missed?
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not married, but like I gotta assume, but I've been in long-term relationships that routine is comforting, but it also this like, I never feel missed because you're always fucking here.
Right. Right.
And we say that about each other in relationships.
It's kind of like if you live on the beach, you start to not appreciate the ocean because you see it every day.
Sometimes you just gotta miss each other and or just create those scenarios of or doing something,
Right.
Without making it seem like a guilt trip.
That's
Why
the
don't
thing.
we ever do this anymore?
Right.
It's probably not a way of. It's like, what? I had so much fun with you.
Yeah.
That was really exciting. I think about that a lot. I want to
Right.
do that again with you.
I completely agree.
What a different way of saying, why don't you ever do this with me anymore?
Right.
And men and women both do it. to
Oh,
each other
I'm
in different
I'm guilty
ways.
of it. I pity her into doing it now, and it's never as good because I feel like
And you don't want pity sex.
I don't.
And then you
but-
pity her into doing it.
Right.
I mean, I get it.
I'm sick.
We all do it.
Right.
But also, like, you're not watching porn.
Right. Yeah, I want my wife.
You want your wife. And
Yeah.
all the women whose husbands are obsessed with porn are just like, why can't I have someone like Tanner? That's all very, very fascinating. Any final thoughts, Tanner, before I let you go?
Not really, man. What's new with you? Anything? Dating life? Happy? Good? Anything to speak? I haven't seen you in like a month.
Dating life it's fine. It's great.
Good.
Yeah. Always
Always looking available.
bleak. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. It's again, it's tough for me to kind of figure out. My biggest mistake I make in my dating life right now is thinking that I have it really narrowed down to what I want, and then I become
You're looking for that exact puzzle piece.
right.
Yeah.
Not necessarily intentionally, but I've been in enough of relationships and dated enough of people to know what I don't want, and now it's very confusing for me to figure out what I actually do want, thinking I know what I want, but I really.
But you might not. Yeah.
And then there's other variables of too much everyone, in terms of the people you're going after versus that they're going after, and
Right.
vice versa, and it just becomes a whole thing. I'm very happy
Good.
with everything.
Well,
Everything's
happily single, happily married with kids.
I really appreciate you having on. You're always fun to talk to. You're always very honest and authentic. I look forward to you and Demi meeting each other in person.
Yeah,
I know that
I would like to meet Demi. I think we would actually get along great. And Demi, if you're listening to this, watching this, I applaud you for your bravery. And I wish you and Kristian the best. None of my comments have anything to do with how I view your happiness or your relationship. We just have a differing opinion on a little bit of TV, but that's okay.
And that is okay. It is TV.
Yep.
Friendly reminder.
Yeah.
Right. It's great.
Right.
And I'm glad it's on.
Yeah.
It's compelling. Thanks so much for coming on. For those of you listening, as always, we appreciate you tuning in. We will see you back on Monday for another episode of Ask Nick, and we'll have some wonderful questions and dating advice and relationship, and we'll see where it goes. As always, I really appreciate you guys listening. We couldn't do this without you. Feel free to continue to share our podcast on your social media. Follow us on Viall Files. Rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We can't do it without you. Thanks so much for your time. As always, have a great week. Talk to you later.